Welcome to the 2015 edition of the Bridgestone 4x4 Club Challenge. This competition for near-standard 4x4s has been given a bit of a makeover for 2015, with a few new twists and turns introduced to the game. This year sees the introduction of 4 qualifying rounds, all based at the Leeuwenkloof 4x4 facility near Hartbeespoort Dam. The 5 top scoring teams from each club advance to the 6 knockout rounds. Teams accumulate their scores over these rounds, so consistent performances should earn a team a place in the final, where the top 30 teams will lock horns. Also new for 2015 is a development team. Interested 4x4 enthusiasts gathered at the Four-Wheel Drive Club of SA's track before the first event kicked off to help them get acquainted with the rules and regulations of the competition. On the technical side, the only major change is a penalty system for front and rear differential lockers. But the biggest news for 2015, as time would prove, was the appointment of 4x4 legend Saki Kutsia as the Master of Pain and Misery, or the Route Master if you please. The qualifying rounds at Leeuwenkloof served as a warm-up session. It turned out, as the competition progressed, Saki clearly had swallowed some Hannibal Lecter pills as the obstacles grew bigger and tougher. But enough of the admin for now. Let's get jiggy with the 2015 Bridgestone 4x4 Club Challenge. A smarty box of 4x4s lined up for the first Bridgestone 4x4 action of the year, ranging from tiny 1-litre Suzuki SJs to big and expensive Mercedes-Benz Geländewagens and everything in between. After a scrutineering session, where vehicles are checked for safety reasons, clerk of the course Andre Strauss laid down the rules of engagement. Clearly, some of the regular competitors already sported their serious game faces. So, without further ado, let's get the party started. And we do so with some inspirational words from Johan Leroux, driver of 4x4 number 1, a Nissan Navara V9X.
It's the most nerves I've had doing something fun.
This is the first obstacle of the 2015 challenge, and Hannibal Kutsia is already up to his tricks. This is a narrow obstacle, spiced up with a few hairy ditches and climbs, so maybe not quite the kind of job the designers of the big and fancy Navara V9X had in mind. Remember, hitting a pole and dislodging a golf ball perched on top of said pole will cost 25 points. Any stop is a 5-point penalty, and ditto with a reverse. Spin too much and the marshals will blow their whistles and the game is up on the obstacle, with 0 points in the bank.
The competitor asked us to remove it because he doesn't want to damage it. He's going to ride over it and break it. So he's willing to lose the 25 points just for that.
Right, so let's join 4x4 competition virgins Johan Leroux and his co-driver Lawrence Fourie.
No pressure.
Kyk daai kant toe sak nou, dan gaan jy daai paal op.
Jy sien.
Sorry.
Ja, is reg, maar kyk, ek meen ek is teen hierdie een. Dis baie nou, dis val ek hierin ook af.
Ja, jy sien. Ja, die goed is bitter. Waar is die paal? Okay, ek gaan nou die kant toe begin insak. Kyk, jy's so 15 cm hier.
Ja, die traction control.
Ek dink hierdie een het ons ook gevang, ek kan nou nie sien hier nie.
Ons het seer oor hierdie een.
Kom net bietjie. Kyk. Kyk, hier's 'n paal hierso, ons gaan hom vang. Kan jy bietjie regs gaan?
Hier is met jou.
Okay, daar trap ons op.
Dat ek die
Is
boom
dit die
staan.
boom omry?
Dis baie nou.
Ja. Mense?
After that attempt, the obstacle rather resembled a pole graveyard. The team had indeed not bagged a single point. What's the story, Johan?
very difficult. And traction control and no diff lock, quite challenging. But yeah, if it starts like this, I don't know how it's going to end.
This is Obstacle 3, a test that would prove to be the nemesis of many a team and many a 4x4. It's a steep climb with a few tight turns and holes, as well as plenty of loose, slippery rocks. It's one of those obstacles that require momentum, plenty of brave, and as many locking diffs as you've got. That is the Joubert father and son team stuck at a precarious angle at the first turn. This is also where we find Hannibal Coetzee.
The obstacles are really testing some of the guys. A couple of serious recoveries so far, but in the words of the competitor himself, dumb mistake. In the competition there's no place for mistakes. You either get it right or you mess it up badly.
So with Mr. Coetzee directing the recovery process, the hardbody was finally and safely extracted from its predicament. Time for the next victims then, and it's regulars Sean Niemand and Chart Skeepers, in Sean's souped-up Jeep Wrangler TJ. Let's see how the more powerful Jeep with 2 lockers deals with this rocky business. And with a customary victorious rev, Sean and Chart make it up and record their first score of the day.
That was an interesting little one, but yeah, the Bridgestones held up well and...
Not the beep beep one.
Not the beep beep one.
On that note, it's time to head to the shops. On the other side of the break, the action continues, and we find out how many other teams make it up Obstacle 3. We're at the Leeuwenkloof 4x4 facility near Harties, and this is Obstacle 5, where Renostoki, the tiny little Suzuki SJ, piloted by T. Nell, is having a tough time getting any momentum going. At least the Suzuki is so narrow, he can go sideways through the gate without hitting anything. Finally, after much earth moving, the SJ makes it up. And here's another SJ that is powered by air, and this one is piloted by Flip Marais and Peter Brits. After carefully inspecting the obstacle and determining that those big bulky things are really rocks, the Suzuki duos strap in and head up. They take the climb with a bit of speed, but then, oh crikey, the SJ runs out of air on the climb. Flip tries to resuscitate the windmill, and finally, he gets it pumping again. The team reverses back down the slope to get a better run at it. And then Flip lets rip. With the dexterity of a mountain goat, the Suzuki makes it to exactly the same point it did before, and promptly dies again. That was the end of the obstacle for Flip and Peter, and they scored 0. And they scored 0. We're back at Obstacle 3, which had the better of the Jouberts in their Datsun, but was conquered by Sean Niemand and Chart Skeepers in the Jeep TJ. This is Stefan van der Heever and Dries Coetzee, and they're in a Land Rover Defender 90 Puma. The Landy doesn't have front or rear lockers, but it does have a fancy off-road traction control system that is supposedly designed for situations just like this. Stefan applies a perfect dose of momentum, and up she goes. Up she goes and over. The computer brain certainly did the trick there, and Stefan seems quite delighted with his handful of points.
Ah, very exciting. Very nice.
This is the Mahindra Thar of Kobus Boma and Wayne Harvey that become unstuck on the climb. Kobus explains what happened.
We went up, we lost traction, we rolled back, went over a rock, and the car came stranded on a rock. That's exactly what happened. So yeah, now we need to do a small recovery, otherwise it's a bit unsafe to drive it out.
But mere moments after that interview was recorded, the Mahindra clearly decided it had had enough of this driving over mountains and whatnots, and it toppled over all by its lonesome self, the handbrake not engaging properly. And that was the end of one time's Mahindra Thar. Hoping not to repeat the Mahindra's spectacular exit were Kobus and Willem Pienaar, who drive a big Nissan Patrol 4.5. This Nissan has the power and the lockers to complete the climb, but it's also heavy and as wide as an aircraft carrier. So let's see how they go. So the big Nissan also made it up, even though it redistributed half the mountain. Well done, lads. In the meantime, while the teams battle with Obstacle 3, this is Obstacle 8. And this is the Ford Ranger 3.2 4x4 of Alec Abers and Rwanda Enselin. And no, that Ranger is not moving. That's because it's very much stuck, hanging on its belly on the obstacle. And since it's hung up at a precarious angle, the marshals call in the big guns with winches and ropes and a whole lot of ideas. The Ford is finally extracted from the obstacle. But the clerk of the course closes this particular test for the rest of the competition. The long wheelbase 4x4s were bound to get stuck here. So let's move on to something a bit more engaging, like Obstacle 4. Where the teams had to go up a steep and slippery climb in Obstacle 3, they now have to go down a steep and slippery hill. This is Mark Davis and Andries Volmerens in a stock Jeep Wrangler Sahara. Down they go, steady as she goes, steady. The Jeep kills 2 poles dead in one go, so there's already 50 points lost. At the last gate, the Jeep slides wide, and the teams take the correct option of stopping and reversing, instead of driving over the pole.
Roll back.
And through they go, but they lost plenty of points here. Seasoned competitors Adrian Okamp and Gerrit van Wyk are next, in Rachel, the red Range Rover. Adrian takes an interesting line to start with, but manages to squeeze through the first gate. But at the next gate, Rachel takes out a pole. So that's 75 points in the bank. And on a day like today, 75 points is not to be scoffed at. So how's your day going, Adrian?
Brad, Saki really tried his best to make it tight for our bigger old vehicles. But yeah, Rachel's going well, like always.
Let's see if Stefan van der Heever and Dries Kotzer in the Defender 90 Puma fare better. Stefan starts out nice and easy, but then the back wheel hits a big rock. Ooh. but Stefan deftly brings the Landy's tail back in line.
2 poles.
Unfortunately, he takes out the next 2 poles, and then a third. So, after that scare, he's only got 25 points in the bank. Time to pay the bills. On the other side of the break, we join the teams at obstacles 7, 9 and 10. And you can bet your bottom dollar the dust will fly. At obstacle 6, the teams don't have any inclines or declines to deal with. Instead, here they only have very narrow gates and big boulders to negotiate. This is Werner Sischkoff and Nico van Locherenberg in a Jeep Wrangler Unlimited Rubicon, which should be just the ticket for this boulder business. And choose Bob. The Jeep with its front and rear lockers doesn't have any traction issues on the boulders, but there's the matter of width, and even though Werner does his best to miss those poles in the long Jeep, he still takes out 2. But overall, that was a grand performance.
Right, can I go?
This is Manny de Freitas in his Toyota Fortuner 3-litre D4D 4x4. Manny comes from the When in Doubt Floor It clan, so let's see how he handles this rocky, steep climb. That was well done, and he didn't hit 60 k's an hour either. How did that go for you, Manny?
That was a rough obstacle, eh? Very undercarriage rough.
This is obstacle 9, and it's one that only 9 4x4s completed the entire day. The teams have to start the ascent of the slippery sandy business some way up the slope, so there's no chance to build up momentum. We ride with Graham Davis and Sampi Soichers in a virtually stock Suzuki Jimny with a 1.3 litre engine, and they don't make it very far before the marshals dish out the yellow card. Troy and Terence Rama are next in a Mitsubishi Triton 3.2 DID. Ready, steady, go! And stop. So the Triton scored the same amount of points as the Jimny. Oh well, c'est la vie. The last obstacle of the day was a long one, and one that looked easy. Start with a difficult side slope, followed by an axle twister, and then a seemingly easy climb through the gates to finish. Straightforward, right? Apparently not. Here are Adrian Okamp and Gerrit van Wyk again, and they appear to be planning a bit of an overland trip through the obstacle. Adrian explains his cunning plan.
Normally people take the straight line through an obstacle. Luckily, Saki taught me way back in the day, interpret the rules. So what we're going to do is, we're not going to follow the straight route through the poles. We're doing a huge game tour around the fence, getting a straight line to go up that loose embankment. That way, hopefully, we will score full marks.
This can either go very well or not so well at all. Let's ride with our resident overlanders.
Nee, nou rijden ons rondom Tali. Maar ook mooi. Ringen, ringen,
As ons oor aan dink, kom met die difvlak aansifeer. Okay. Dis net aan die bossie. Right. Okay, so jy net wanneer ek moet aanswitch, ek sit reg.
That overland excursion unfortunately didn't work. Like, not at all. The competitors are allowed to think out of the box, but their tyre tracks may not cross, and Rachel, the red Range Rover, had done exactly that. So that's just 25 points for all their efforts.
Dis jammer oor die entry gate, verder wel dan, Adria.
Ja.
We conclude the action with the Mitsubishi Triton of Troy and Terence Rama. They take the humdrum boring approach and score a steady 75 points in the process.
Great driving.
Time for the last hurrah then. First, a quick rundown of the prizes that are up for grabs in this competition. In each qualifying round, the top 3 teams will win 4x4 accessories and gear from co-sponsor Opposite Lock, while the top prize will be a R10,000 tyre voucher from Bridgestone, South Africa. In the eliminator rounds, the top teams will win only points, because the really big prizes will be in the game in the final event. The overall winners will receive an adjustable Tough Dog suspension and sets of tyres from Bridgestone. Second place will win an MRO LED light bar with a Snowmaster fridge. Third place will bag top-end Melville and Moon canvas seat covers and an Opposite Lock tyre repair kit. Back to this event then. And in third place, recording 595 points, was Sean Niemand and Chart Skiepers in the Jeep TJ. They won a mean green recovery kit courtesy of Opposite Lock. And in second place, and putting in a sterling performance, with a little Suzuki with no locking differentials, were Chart and Adele Prinsloo. They scored 640 points and won a set of Opposite Lock spotlights. But the men of the hour were Wimpy and Radir Olafide, who piloted their souped-up Jimny to an amazing 800 out of a possible 900 points. The Lichtenbergian team won that R10,000 tyre voucher from Bridgestone, South Africa. Catch all the Bridgestone 4x4 Club Challenge action next week as more 4x4s try to earn their spots in the eliminator rounds. Same time, same place. Ta-ra!